Ezekiel was a prophet in the 6th century BC, living in exile in Babylon after being captured and taken there by Nebuchadnezzar. God called Ezekiel to warn his countrymen that they were going to face tough times as a result of their sin. They were going to endure a long, devastating siege, a lockdown. And the methods that God told Ezekiel to use to deliver the message were quite striking. He told Ezekiel to draw a picture of Jerusalem on a clay tablet. We don't have any clay, so we used shortbread instead and drew our picture using icing pens. A rocky hill, some city walls, buildings in the city, a road leading to the city gate, some trees. A model of Jerusalem. Ezekiel was to then lay siege to the model. God said, erect siege works against it, build a ramp up to it, set up camps against it, and put battering rams around it. Then take an iron pan, place it as an iron wall between you and the city, and turn your face toward it. It will be under siege, and you shall besiege it. This will be a sign to the people of Israel. The siege was going to be absolute and unyielding. It was going to be a long and devastating lockdown. Now Ezekiel acted this drama out to his audience. Probably his picture and his model were a bit more convincing than mine, but it still must have presented quite a spectacle. A grown man playing with a model city and toy soldiers. But Ezekiel was faithfully bringing God's important message to Israel in a dramatic and memorable way. God also told Ezekiel to prepare bread made from a mix of grains and seeds, representing that the inhabitants of Jerusalem would have to use whatever they could find to make their food whilst undergoing this siege. It wasn't going to be plentiful food, and it wasn't going to be tasty. And to represent the extreme conditions that Jerusalem would experience during the siege, God told Ezekiel that he would have to cook his bread over human excrement. Now, Ezekiel complained bitterly about this, and I don't blame him. So God relented and allowed Ezekiel to use animal dung instead. Although I think the Israelites would have found that just as repulsive as you just did.
Oh, it's burning nicely.
Ezekiel was to eat this bread whilst remaining tied up and lying on his side for 430 days, a self-imposed lockdown. Ezekiel's message was delivered in a very memorable way. It was hard to miss, and it should have been just as hard to ignore. So what's the point here? Ezekiel had a difficult message to deliver and risked ridicule and rejection. His message involved a period of self-imposed lockdown, not for the same reasons as we currently go through lockdown and not to achieve a medical or logistical objective, but in order to faithfully deliver the message that God had given him. We have a message to bring to people today. It's one that very many will ridicule, and they may ridicule us for bringing it. But gladly, unlike Ezekiel's message, ours is not one of an impending disaster and devastating lockdown, but one of joy and hope, of salvation and eternal life. Our message is good news.